Hello, everyone. I am sure most of you are aware that the United States has about 46 elected or designated presidents between 1789 into 2021. Most of our presidents comes from the Democratic and Republican parties, while some of our presidents, such as George Washington, are politically independent or has no political party preferences. I'm sure most of you think or aware that many U.S. presidents are Protestant Christians and Caucasian Americans, but that's not the case. Out of 45 U.S. presidents that are Caucasians, Barack Obama will be the first multiracial African American to be elected president in 2008 and reelected in 2012. Out of 44 U.S. presidents that are Protestants, John F. Kennedy will be the first Catholic to be elected president in 1960, while Joe Biden will be the second Catholic to be elected in 2020. Today, I am going to talk about our 35th U.S. President, John F. Kennedy, who has shaped a legacy as a effective leader during the Cold War and of being a supporter of the civil rights movement in the 1960s. For my first main point, Kennedy's legacy as a effective U.S. president during the Cold War against the Soviet Union. His legacy as president was tested during his diplomatic confrontations with the Soviet Union during the Cold War on the Berlin Wall, which separates the city of West Berlin into two cities, West Berlin and East Berlin. According to Carl M. Browner, author of John F. Kennedy, The Presidents, A Reference History, Kennedy responded through words and deeds, including at one point calling up American military reserves. He upheld America's long-standing commitment to defend that city's access to the West. Although the Soviet Union did not abandon its construction of the Berlin Wall, President Kennedy was adamant in protecting West Berlin and its citizens through military aid from Soviet threat. Kennedy's efforts on the Berlin Wall crisis has made him to a effective leader during his visit to West Berlin in 1963. According to David von Drehel, author of JFK, His Enduring Legacy, as Kennedy would say when he visited the wall in 1963 in his famous Ich bin in Berliner speech, freedom has many difficulties and democracy is not perfect, but we have never had to put up a wall to keep our people in. For this reason, the arrival of President Kennedy into West Berlin in Germany, particularly East Germany, while addressing his speech demonstrates his support of the people of West Berlin in opposition to the Berlin Wall. Now, for my second main point, it's President Kennedy's legacy as a moderate supporter of the civil rights movement during the 1960s. Kennedy's stance on the civil rights movement was cautious and moderate when he sought to resolve the Alabama crisis by ordering the National Guard troops to enforce the integration of the University of Alabama. Peniel E. Joseph, author of the article Kennedy's Finest Moment from the New York Times, states, Kennedy began slowly and in a matter-of-fact moment with an announcement that the National Guard had peacefully enrolled 2 black students at the University of Alabama over Wallace's racist objections. By sending troops to enforce integration of the universities in Alabama, this explains about President Kennedy's willingness of his support of the civil rights, such as the integrations of schools and universities. While ending his 2 years of neutrality on the civil rights movement, President Kennedy would become prominent in enacting the civil rights legislation to enshrine equal rights to the American people, regardless of race, color, and gender. David von Drehel, author of JFK's His Enduring Legacy, states, Kennedy finally proposed the historic legislation that Congress eventually passed after his death, laws that would reshape the U.S., the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Now, in spite of his death by assassination on November 22, 1963, the legacy of President Kennedy's proposed civil rights legislation has become prominent by his successor, President Lyndon Johnson, when he signed them into law in 1964 and 1965. Now, in the end, the legacy of John F. Kennedy during his time as U.S. President has become notable. His leadership during the era of the Cold War has enabled him to become diplomatically forceful, as well as politically experienced in spite of his youthful image. Mostly, Kennedy's hesitations on the domestic issues, such as the civil rights movement, has been resolved finally when he sought to support it through enforcement of integration laws and proposing civil rights laws. His actions regard him as one of the most popular U.S. presidents. Therefore, by learning to study about the 46 U.S. presidents, it is important to be aware that some of our presidents would be very notable despite their race or religion. With John F. Kennedy was the first Catholic to be elected U.S. president, anything can be possible for any American, regardless of their race, gender, color, or religion, to run for office for President of the United States by possibly making history. Anything can be possible. Thank you very much.